And soon, this place, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, will be loud. That's a live look at the stadium. All quiet now. This game, 4 Eastern on CBS. And as they just said over there, Marty and McGee, look, if Georgia wins, feels like they're in. LSU feels like they could even afford a loss here. We'll see what happens. Either way, LSU primed and ready for this, and it's been a charmed season for the Tigers. The SEC West champs, the LSU Tigers, and this has been a record-setting year for the LSU offense. Joe Burrow has already broken the SEC passing record, and it's tied for the single-season record with 44 touchdown passes. Jamar Chase needs one more touchdown reception to match the conference record. Guys, show of hands. A few years ago, when Ed Orgeron got hired at LSU, who thought they would be here in the SEC championship, 12-0, a team number 2 in the country, maybe number 1 if they win today? Who thought that was going to happen?
I don't know if I thought this soon.
Yeah.
I thought he was the right guy, but
you put a lot of parameters on it. I expected them to be in the SEC championship. I didn't know they would get here in this fashion.
No, but you want to give you credit. You believed in Coach O, and I think we all did to a certain extent, but you believed in him that he was going to get it done fast.
Paul did.
Well, first of all,
Paul, I was trying to
I didn't believe he'd get the. I didn't think he would get the job, because when he took over for Les Miles, we all thought he was going to have to beat Alabama to keep the job. And it's worth remembering that when he didn't beat Alabama, Joe Oliva went after Tom Herman. Yeah. He went after him hard. And Laura, you were covering the game that night, trying to decipher some news at A&M out of Joe Oliva, and you didn't get very far.
Yeah, it wasn't my greatest moment.
I think you were escorted out of the country, if I remember.
I got in big trouble for that one. But the point is very real. And look, LSU winning that game and talking to Ed O on the field afterward, you could tell that it was weird for him, because there's nothing he wanted more than to coach this team. He's had the chance to do it. But, Marcus, it doesn't happen if Joe Burrow doesn't come into the fold this year, and Joe Brady.
Absolutely. And those are the 2 sticking points. And number 3, and I don't think a lot of people have talked about this enough, the willingness of Steve Ensminger to accept the fact that you're bringing in this young hot guru and those guys working together to create what they created offensively. This has been the question for LSU for the last 10 years. Where is the offense? Where is the explosiveness, the high power? Exactly. We got used to great running backs and Fournette and all of that, and running their heads into the brick wall, and we knew when they got to a game like this. But this guy right here, coming from Sean Payton's system in New Orleans, having the ability to identify that this quarterback can operate this similar to what I saw Drew Brees operate from, and then implement that into the game plan. Paul, Tim, you, Laura, we've sat here and always said in a perplexed fashion, why can't LSU compete? They have 5-star recruits. They got more guys getting drafted than these schools that are winning national championships. Why aren't they in this conversation at this point? They let it all out this year. They created that for them.
Why they weren't is because they didn't win schematically.
Yeah.
They didn't. They won athletically. They won sometimes with great skill, but they never won with their scheme. Now they're winning in all of those ways, and I think we should go back to Coach O and say what a job he's done, because, you know, when I thought he would be a good coach, it's because I thought he would be a good motivator. Yeah. But he went from being just a good motivator to now being able to find the right young men to put in place, put Joe Brady in the right place, encourage, mold all these pieces, to now they have one of the best seasons, regular seasons, in SEC history. They've dominated so much from beginning to end, all of these wins, going to Texas, beating Alabama, Tua, all those receivers.
Yeah.
And I want to give Coach O a lot of credit, because one of the hardest things to do in life, in my opinion, is to go from good to great.
Yeah.
It's easy to go from bad to average, or average to good, because you don't have a lot to risk. You don't have a lot to risk. But when you're already really good, you have to risk a lot to be great. Yeah. To make a decision like this, to change all of their offense, to bring in Joe Brady, it takes a lot of courage. And he had that courage, he got it done, and it's paying off right now.
I'll tell you what, it's not that hard to go from bad to average. I've done it.
Well, here's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
Here's the thing, too. Also, with that being said, and one thing I think we talked about this previously, is giving Ed Orgeron enough credit to structure this staff. Remember, Matt Canada was the hot guy, and it took a year. Hey, this didn't work. Matt, Thank you for your service. I got to go another route. Identifying those things. Then when he hired Steve Ensminger, Paul, you remember, what the hell is he doing?
Right.
Steve Ensminger is not the guy. And then Steve Ensminger showed some things. And remember, the year LSU won 10 games, they lost to Troy.
Oh, yeah.
This could have been an 11-win team 2 years ago. And now you get to this point where, and I will be remiss if I don't say this. Who's been the biggest cheerleader for Joe Burrow? Ed Ogeron.
Yep.
Because he understood.
He hasn't been shy about it.
Urban Meyer was your biggest cheerleader. If you promote the guy that's leading your squad, everybody else will follow. Like that is just a part of. I was in Dallas with Tony Romo. When we saw Bill Parcells say, Tony Romo, this is your team, we fell in line. And Edo supporting him like that, I think, created a lot of that confidence.
Another cheerleader for him? Urban's been a cheerleader for Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has, and we have a feature on that coming up. Another cheerleader, though, just to keep this cheerleader theme going, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you have a breakdown on him, what he's brought to this offense.
Well, we always talk about Joe Burrow, but what Clyde has done this year has been second to nobody. I mean, this dude, his versatility is insane. Watch this. He's picking up a corner blitz, and he does it with physicality. It's not just all about him. It's about the team first. That's always been his mentality. But look at his athleticism. I'm a running back in the backfield running a corner route, and I'm slaughtering a linebacker. Okay? 3rd and 8. One of the biggest plays of the season. Most people forgot about it. I didn't forget about it. This dude, watch the way he fights. His heart, his toughness, fighting to get that last inch to get the first down and win that game. But here, he's also smart. He understands it's a zone coverage. I'm going to come off slow. I'm going to burst. I'm going to be able to make this dude miss. I'm going to get a 20-yard gain. That's what Clyde does that most people don't see. He's a difference maker.
Well, his story is amazing, too.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, but I got a guy that I think everybody should know at this point. He's going to win the Biletnikoff, and he is Joe Brady's security blanket, which every quarterback needs.
Let's go.
Jamar Chase. First of all, the ability to run routes. This is why he's a problem, because he can shake you up.
Come on, man. Why you make
Can
you look bad
dudes
like
put
that?
you in a blender and then going up and making one-on-one catches.
Hands
The
team.
speed to finish off catches and slants. This is what we talked about with Alabama receivers quite a bit. Catch the ball and run after catch. Jamar Chase, and then dependable. When Joe Burrow needs a conversion, it's Jamar Chase first, and then you look for Justin Jefferson. But number one has been the catalyst to answer all those questions. Does LSU have the guys with the same type of ability that we look at across the country and we say that are prolific? Now you're probably staring at a Heisman Trophy winner because of the right scheme. You're staring at a Biletnikoff winner and a 1,000-yard rusher as well. So it has all worked together, but Jamar Chase is a problem. And I don't see any reason he wouldn't be a problem today, because he's been a problem for 12 weeks.
Okay, so let me just let you all know, we're currently in the D block of our show. For Georgia fans out there that are like, man, all they're doing is talking LSU.
It's coming.
The E block is yours, Georgia Bulldog fans, and much more after that as well. We're going to get to them in a second, but this is 2019. The Georgia Bulldogs back in this SEC championship. It's been an interesting ride for them. Kirby Smart even telling me yesterday that following the South Carolina loss, they started having players-only meetings every single week. The ownership taken by these guys on this Georgia team has been special. Let's remind you how they got here. The SEC East champs, the Georgia Bulldogs, and they're back in the SEC championship game for the 3rd straight season, thanks to the 2nd best scoring defense in FBS. The Bulldogs and Clemson are the only FBS teams that haven't allowed more than 20 points in a game this season. Look, we know their defense has been great. There have been questions about the offense. And one interesting thing, guys, I was thinking about this, it's almost like Georgia's offense is similar to what LSU's offense used to be before Joe Brady came in. It's a little bit of an interesting thing. You've talked about the contrasting styles, but Tim, they've been here so many times, Georgia has. How does that factor in with this game today?
Well, I think it absolutely plays into their mindset. 2 years ago, they came in here after losing to Auburn, and they could have been down about it, but they had a great game plan, dominated Auburn, got to the national championship game, out-game planned Alabama, outplayed them until they put in a guy named Tua who made a couple crazy throws. Then last year, they got to this game, out-schemed and outplayed Alabama until they put in a guy named Jalen Hurts, who came back with his legs. And so all of those games, I thought Kirby and Georgia have won with their game plan. There's just been a little bit of an X factor that they didn't anticipate that changed it for them a little bit.
I just think he game plans so well.
Yeah.
When you think about Kirby Smart, this is not his first rodeo seeing a prolific offense. The same things we're saying about LSU offense this year, that's been Alabama the past 3 years. And Kirby Smart has been that one coach to put his team in a situation to have the ability to defend that. They were up 28-7 in this game against Alabama at one point. Now, that was with a better offense, but I'm telling you right now, there are a few coaches in college football that can get a team to believe that it's all or nothing. And Kirby Smart is in that vein. So I'm interested to see how this defense comes out. And what he's preaching to them is that we have to turn the ball over, guys, in order to be able to stay and continue to press with our offense in this game. They're 27-0 when they rush for 200 yards or more. And you got to believe that that's going to be the game plan from Coley in this game
and
when you talk about their
you hope
inability.
Swift's healthy, too.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big part of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also think they can look back at last year and create a lot of confidence because they confused Tua. They confused Alabama's offense. And a lot of people thought, how can you slow down Alabama's offense? You can't do it. Well, they figure out a way to do it. And I think they're going to bring that same mentality into the stadium tonight.
Paul, you see Kirby Smart arriving here, and you've seen the way that he's acted throughout this season in preparation for another huge moment. It's not his fault. In fact, maybe it is, in a good way, that people expect championships out of Kirby Smart. Georgia fans want to see a championship won today and more.
Yeah, there was a sense when this season began that it was national championship or bust. But fortunately, that has abated a little bit because of so many injuries. But I really dispute many who say Kirby Smart has blown big games. It's worth remembering he beat Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl in the national semifinals. That takes some skill. Tim talked about his game planning. We're really talking about going up against Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Not many people have beaten Nick Saban in the
Paul, how many coaches have blown games against Nick Saban?
It's true. Everybody, right?
Give Kirby credit for what he's done, man. This is where Georgia fans wanted to be. I'm not
3 years in a row.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and act like Mark Richt wasn't a great coach. Mark Richt was a great coach.
He was.
Georgia fans wanted a coach to get them to this point, and Kirby has delivered. Now, can they finish the deal is the question.
One more step.
When you're having that conversation as a fan base, you in the money at that point. So give him time. I'm sure he'll deliver one in the future.
And it's not having that conversation one time. It's every year we're having that conversation with Georgia and Kirby.
So, Tim, we see Georgia arriving. This is live right now. We're under 2 hours to kick off of this SEC championship game. And their mindset has to be interesting right now because if they win this game, you got to think they're in the college football playoff. This is essentially a play-in game to the playoff.
There's no doubt, but I'll tell you how those guys are feeling right now. They would act like there's no nerves.
A little nervous.
They shaking, man. They shaking in them suits and their finest attire, but right now they can't wait to change, run on that field, get your first jitters out and get ready to go.
But I'll tell you this, I was a part of a game like this. When you play as a defensive player against a prolific offense, your mentality is different. In 2003, when we played Oklahoma, Jason White in Oklahoma was averaging 45 points a game. And our sole mission was to embarrass them. That's what Georgia defense wants to do to LSU. They've heard all season long how great Joe Burrow is, how great this offense has been. LSU is new. LSU has been the darling of college football this year. And Georgia is like, we've been in this position. We play a different style of football, but we play a physical style of football, and you got to come through us to get to where you want to go. And I'm sure that's the mentality they taking into this game.
Well, Kirby Smart and company hoping this one goes a lot differently. He just caught up with Peter Burns.
Coach, big smile on your face as you entered here at the building. Third straight year, you talked to the family. What does it feel like here 3 years in a row?
Well, it's a great accomplishment for our program, our administration. So many people have supported us since we got here. It's a big game today.
Talking about DeAndre Swift, a lot of questions about his health. What do you expect to see from him today?
We expect him to be able to go. He's practiced all week. He's done everything we've asked, and excited to see what he can do.
Third different opponent in 3 straight years here in the SEC championship game. What's the unique challenge that Joe Burrow and this offense brings to you?
Well, they're really good. They've got talented players all over the field. He makes good decisions. They ID what you're in, make decisions based off that. So we'll have to do a good job disguising. We'll have to do a good job covering people.
Best of luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Kirby Kirby Smart said this week LSU is the best offense he's ever seen in the SEC. Dogs are here because of their defense, which was the best in the SEC by a variety of metrics. Brad Edwards breaks down the matchup between the Georgia defense and the LSU offense.
Oh my goodness, that's a scoop and score for the Dogs defense.
Georgia's playing championship caliber defense.
The Georgia defense has been stout this season, allowing fewer than 11 points per game and ranking 3rd in defensive efficiency. Those are the kind of numbers that give a team hope against an offense as potent as LSU's.
Joe Burrow has the most passing yards in SEC history.
But a closer look reveals that Georgia's defense hasn't seen anything like the LSU passing game. The Tigers lead the nation in EPA on pass plays with 18.3 per game. The best Georgia opponent in that category has been Florida, which has less than half of the passing impact that LSU has generated.
Here comes the blitz. Burrow steps away from it. Touchdown, Tigers!
The only way to stop Joe Burrow this season has been to get him on the ground. But the Dogs rank 77th in sack rate.
As good as Georgia's defense is, LSU's going to score points.
Georgia has gotten this far with an elite defense. And getting to the playoff may require their best performance yet.
Hey, listen, I had to bring you in. Me and Tim's favorite segment is Who Had the Edge.
Let's
Tim,
go,
I had
baby.
to bring the
Come
big
on,
dog in.
Welcome,
I
baby.
brought in Coach Gene Chizik, who has literally prepared a defense for the biggest game in college football, a national championship. And you got the
And he won it, too.
Let's get it started. We're going to start in the trenches. Who has the edge?
Let's
Gene,
go, Coach.
I'm giving you the mic.
I'm going first right now. I'm going with Georgia.
Yeah.
I'm going with Georgia, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to start with Big Jordan Davis, number 99, 330 pounds in the middle. Tyler Clark, these guys can dominate a front in the run game. They can rush the passer. I know the numbers don't support it on rushing the passer, but when these guys get their mindset in big games, Trey Scott, the defensive line coach, he will have these dudes
What you
ready
got,
to
Tim?
roll.
No, that's why he won a championship.
Yeah.
I'm going with Georgia.
Yeah.
They're front. They're going to be physical all day long. That is not where this game is going to be lost
They're
right there for
built
Georgia.
from the
They're built for
inside
it,
out.
man.
Right.
I'm going Georgia as well.
Yep.
Advantage in the trenches.
Yep.
Now let's go to the next one. I'm not going to waste time. LSU has a running back, Clyde Edwards. Take a look. And then when you start talking about the other side of the ball, the linebackers for Georgia are fast. They get downhill. Roquan Smith left the cupboard full. He showed these guys how to play defense. But my question to you, Coach, who has the edge? Is it LSU RB or Georgia linebackers?
I got to go with LSU, big fella. Number 22 is the most underrated running back maybe in the country. He can run the football. You can put him out there as a wideout. He can do it all. Most underrated guy.
I think Georgia does a lot to slow them down, to slow Clyde down throughout the game. They're going to game plan for him. They know how versatile. But I think he comes up with a few huge plays in the end of the game to make it happen. I agree with you, Coach.
I like the consistency in which Georgia linebackers play. They're fast. They play downhill. But at times, Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger gets Hilaire in these one-on-one situations, and he's won them all season long. I'm going LSU as well with Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. Let's go LSU wideouts, Georgia DBs.
How can you deny it?
Stop. I'm going to go. Let's go. Come on, let's continue living life.
I mean, you got 2,000-yard
Flip
receivers.
that for me, Tim.
I got you, baby.
You got 2,000-yard receivers. How are you going to stop these guys? Oh,
No
yeah,
doubt.
Terrace Marshall, another 6'4" guy.
Oh, yeah.
That ain't even in the top
Absolutely.
I know.
All
They
right.
welcomed him back a few weeks
All right.
ago. He was like, hey, I'll show up too.
Here it is. Here it is.
Game
Because
plan.
I think this is going to have probably the hugest impact on this game. And we've talked all season long about Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger and Kirby Smart with Cooley, but Kirby being in these situations, Gene, tell me how much does it mean and how much does it affect you, the fact that Kirby Smart has been in this game the last 3 years?
It's big time that Kirby has been in this game. You're looking at one of the brightest minds in college football defensively, and it will take that today, and I'm going to tell you what he's going to do. He's going to find a way to play split safety looks, even though you're light in the box, and still be able to try to fit the run.
That's exactly what he's going to do.
It's the only way he can have a chance to stop this passing game.
It's exactly what he's going to do because he's giving up the touchdown home run.
Who you got, G? Who you got? Tell me who you got.
On game plan right now, on game plan, I got Georgia.
Yeah.
On game plan, I got Georgia.
Hey, listen, 2 years ago, I saw Kirby do it against Gus Malzahn. I saw him do it in the national championship. I saw him do it last year against Nick Saban in that offense that no one stopped. Kirby Smart is a great defensive coordinator. I think Joe Brady's another great mind, but Kirby, he's got something for it.
No doubt. Well, I was on this morning with David Pollack, and we talked about this, and you guys know how much I love Kirby Smart and the way he dials up plans. But David Pollack said something to me that really resonated. Defense doesn't win championships anymore. Offense does. I'm going with LSU.
Of course you are.
That's what he said. That's what a Georgia Bulldog said. Laura, back to you.
Listen, next up, these guys are going to do Georgia's offense against LSU's defense. And look who's making his way into Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Coach O, he said he's been waiting for this moment for so long. I was about to say, oh, there's the commissioner shaking his hand. We'll be right back on SEC Nation.
Got to lean on him today. That's why I'm going Georgia in the trenches.
G, what you got?
There's no question, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you average 6'5", 330 pounds, you got to go with the dog.
I like the big uglies. They live to roll great people out of the way. The trenches go to Georgia. Let's go Georgia running back, LSU linebackers. Who you taking?
Listen, for Georgia to have a chance, DeAndre Swift and the rest of their backs, they got to step up. They got to have a day. They got to help Jake Fromm. Georgia again.
I hope
he's healthy enough.
Yes, absolutely.
I know he's going to try. He's a tough kid.
I've seen this picture before where they're unhealthy coming into this game. I'm going to LSU's linebackers. Let me flip that around. Patrick Queen, these guys are going to be running sideline to sideline. They're going to spill the ball out. They're going to run it down. I'm going with the linebackers.
I said it before the season started. I'm going to keep saying it. I think DeAndre Swift is a headache, and I'm glad I don't have to play him. So I'm going Georgia running back. I think 7 will be fine. He built the right way. He'll be healthy for this game for 3 hours. They'll get him right. Georgia wide receivers versus LSU DBs. And we got some video coming up on these guys.
Because it's probably the biggest X factor.
I know what's going on, Tim. Talk about it a little bit.
These receivers got to step up. They got to help Jake. They got to help James Coley, the OC. They got to win one-on-one because LSU at times is going to play them. They're going to press. We play one-on-one. Georgia's receivers got to step up. The question is, who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be that X factor in this game that we don't really know or hasn't been great but could step up and be great? And guess what? I think it's going to be LSU secondary.
Yeah. G?
I can't disagree, Tim. I got to go with LSU secondary. Today, you're going to see Grant Delpit play near the line of scrimmage. You're going to see those corners, Stingley, Fulton. You're going to see them come out today and play championship
I've seen
football.
sometimes this year,
too much athleticism
receivers been able to take advantage of that one-on-one coverage. Cager being out is killing me
and
at this
Pickens
point because that's Pickens. But the 50-50 ball, Cager won most of all of them this season. So I got to go LSU secondary in this matchup because of Georgia. Game plan-wise, when Georgia has the ball, you got Coley against Aranda.
Go for it. Let's go, baby.
Dave Aranda.
I'm with you, Tim. It's got to be Dave Aranda, man. This dude's got it. He's prepared for this game for his whole life. You'll see a great skill.
Golly, I'm going to shock you with this one because I know what Kirby Smart resorts to. And remember where he comes from. Coach, if we can't throw it, we're going to make them play to run 50 times. Can they hold up? That's what Kirby Smart's telling Coley. I think the game plan goes to Georgia in this regard, man.
But Marcus, you can't do that if you fall behind.
No doubt.
You can't do that. So it also changes how the game's played as well.
To your point, it's all about the coin toss.
That's right.
All right, Dale, we done over here. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. And Coach O is making his way onto the field. In fact, it was interesting yesterday. He reminded us that he had never seen this field before, and neither had LSU. He wanted to make sure they spent a lot of time doing that yesterday, taking all their pictures, so they're dialed in and focused today. All right, guys, I have to show you something, so come with me here. This is pretty cool. I noticed this sign. You guys traveled 7,681 miles to see the dogs. Where are you from? They're from Africa. That's incredible. I love that you're here. So not only are you going to see the dogs, but now you're on TV. Congratulations. We'll be right back on SEC Nation. We've got the greatest fans in the entire world. And when we come back, we're talking coaches' openings around the SEC. Stay tuned. Thanks for the great laughs. Joe Burrow getting ready in at Mercedes-Benz Stadium right now. In just a few minutes, we're going to be joining him. The stats are unbelievable, but I think what also is incredible about Joe Burrow is how much love he's had for this LSU fan base and vice versa. We'll be talking plenty more about him. I want to get you to Peter Burns catching up with Coach O as he arrived here.
Coach, a lot of smiles, a lot of LSU fans here. How does this feel different than years past?
You know, we feel confident. We have a very good team. This is going to be a challenge. But I like the focus of our football team. I like where we're at.
I see a lot of smiles from you, but I see every single one of these players uniquely focused right now. What was the message to the team as they were getting off the bus?
Playing the LSU standard performance.
Right now, DeAndre Swift probably going to go for the Georgia Bulldogs. You think that's going to happen today?
Yeah, for sure. He's a competitor. He's a great player. I would expect nothing less.
What's the key for this game?
All right, go Tigers.